Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge. I'm Anthony Irwin, joined on this fine Wednesday morning slash afternoon. We are recording this
No, it's
on a
still morning.
Wednesday.
No, it's still morning. Even for you, it's
Well,
morning.
it's like late morning. It's like
Yeah, that's
brunch
fair.
hours my time.
That's fair. It's still no. It's still too early for red wine, though.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm not really feeling. Dude, I drink so much less now that like alcohol just doesn't even sound good until like 2 o'clock, like at the absolute earliest.
You thought you did something there. Alcohol. I drink so much less. Alcohol doesn't even sound good until 2.
Well, like, no, if it's a weekend, right? Or if it's
Yeah,
like a day that I could have, football, right? You have
sure,
like a beer during football.
sure.
Um, but even there, so what happened was I was watching the kids this last weekend. Jen was out of town for a weekend.
Yes, and your house is still intact. It appears. At least
It,
your studio, your office
just
is
my
still.
office.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay,
Uh-huh. It's actually really breezy because the roof fell off.
okay.
Yeah. But so I was watching the kids and we always have, Jen likes prosecco, and I'll make a prosecco mimosa in the morning or something like that if we're
Hmm.
gonna, like tomorrow, right, for Thanksgiving, as we do all of
Sure,
our cooking, we'll have a mimosa while we do our cooking,
sure.
because we're hosting. And I looked at the mimosa, because the football was about to start, and I was looking at the prosecco. I'm like, man, that looks pretty good. But if I have a glass of champagne, it's going to make me sleepy, and I cannot be sleepy around these kids. Like
Yeah.
I cannot do that. So I wind up like just not like I went an entire football Sunday basically with like not having anything.
Wait, what?
And now I'm kind of like, man, as that's an option, and I felt a lot more productive. I was like, yeah, I think I'm all right. I think I'm okay. So
Okay.
yeah,
I believe that's called growth. I mean, it was or maturity.
or
Actually,
a
we'll call it
growth.
we'll
It's the
call it
result of two
maturity.
growths on my
Yes,
bank
two
account.
two small growths. Well, what's his name? I don't even remember his name. But what's his name from the show last week is going to be mad at you because you have once again mentioned
Oh
your
yeah.
children. You know what? I'm going to do it by name. Avery, Miles. See, I'm mentioning your children by name. See, this it was my
Hmm.
fault. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
my fault. Well,
You
cheers. I'm
mentioned the
having a beer
growths.
because I got about 1.5 hours of sleep. So
Yeah.
cheers.
I look, you like you say all the time, we chose two very different lifestyles. We
Indeed,
went
we did,
down
brother.
two very different paths.
Yeah, I mean, it
Um
may have been similar for a minute, and there's been a big divergence.
Stupid gross. All right. Today on the show, we are going to talk about the in-season tournament, and
Hmm.
I'm starting to see the tide turn a little bit on it. I think all of the league's efforts to get every single person to say nothing but nice things about it, they are working.
Hmm.
Not necessarily on me, but they are working, I think, on the people in my mentions. So
Yeah,
I
it's
want to
worked on
talk
me
a little
too.
bit
I've
about
I
that.
have I have fallen into the propaganda has worked upon me.
Well, you're a propagandizer, so that makes sense.
Okay, that's interesting. I don't know that I've ever been called that before, but
So we're going to talk a little bit about the in season tournament, where the Lakers stand in it, and just a general response to it. Um, and then when we get to the actual basketball portion of the conversation, I want to talk about Taurean Prince, because he has been miserable, like bad. His plus minus doesn't reflect it last night because he played alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis when they were world beaters, but he has been bad. And every time, there's a certain faction, I think, of Lakers Twitter where every time the notion of benching Taurean Prince comes up, it's like, well, you can't bench a guy for missing shots. You can't bench a guy for missing good shots. And I'm like, well, at some point they don't become good shots anymore if he keeps on missing them. So I'm curious, like, about the kid gloves manner that I see about Taurean Prince and all of what's going on there. So we're gonna have a little bit of a conversation there. But for the most part, we're gonna keep it light. This is the day before Thanksgiving. We're gonna send everybody off into their weekends. I'm debating if I'm actually gonna do a show tonight after the Mavericks Lakers game. We'll see, because it starts like at 10 o'clock my time, and I'll be releasing the podcast on a Thanksgiving Thursday, which I don't necessarily think anybody is looking for podcasts on that day, but we'll see.
I mean, people might need it for their travels.
No, but I've been doing this for a decade now. That it, like, Thanksgiving in particular is just not a day that people listen to podcasts.
Well, today though is right.
Today is, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
People they need it for their travels if you're traveling. If you're traveling wherever today.
So if you're traveling right now while you're listening to this,
yeah,
please do so safely.
Yes,
tonight's a big bar night. Please hop in Ubers and Lyfts and all of that, and please take care of yourself.
Indeed, it is. It is called. I didn't know this. Somebody actually is my sister doesn't drink, but I think she told me about this, that it's called Blackout Wednesday. Is I guess apparently what tonight is called.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
and maybe it's just because people don't want to deal with their they don't want to deal with their families. Is kind of, I think, the
when I was growing up,
the
reason was because a lot of kids traveled away, moved away for college and stuff like that, and then you would come back home and you would all kind of meet up at a bar, and it was like this unofficial high school reunion, right, for a little bit. So when I was younger and I was still doing the bar, like I was a more active member of the bar scene society. That was like a big part of it on Thursday nights.
More active member of the bar scene society. All right. Do you have t-shirts, or is there some sort of plaque?
I should make them. Yeah, we need to start making t-shirts. Somebody get at me for t-shirts for the show. I kind of want to just like
I got you. I got it.
I want a shirt that just says unnamed cognac on it. Like
that's not bad. I'm definitely gonna do. That's not bad. That is not bad. I'm definitely gonna do that.
So yeah,
that's good.
In-season tournament though has gripped the nation. But I had a tweet the other day where I said that I still feel like everybody who is just breathlessly praising the in-season tournament, it feels like a bit that I'm just like not a part of, that I didn't get, that I was too late to, or whatever. Mm-hmm. The league has made a very conscious and loud effort to get as much praise out there about this thing as possible. The kinds of things that that the TNT guys would make fun of, right? The courts, for example, they aren't making fun of them. I kind of feel like that feels like the league kind of telling them, like, don't mess with this. This is going to be an earner for us.
Wait, wait a second. No, see, now I'm stopping.
No,
because you always talk about how TNT specifically, what a poor partner they are in promoting the league, or not promoting the game.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really think? And we heard, I think it was the season opener. Tuesday, the Lakers were at Denver for the opener for Denver's ring whatever ceremony thing. I think it was before that. I think they were in Denver. Maybe they were in. It was Golden State. Phoenix was the second game. I don't remember. I think it was a Warriors home game. I don't remember though. So they were. Yeah, I think they were in Denver. So they had Adam Silver on the set, and they were asking him some questions, and Chuck just kind of like, put his feet to the fire about the Bridges stuff and doing what the league's responsibility is for what the league should do, what the league's responsibility is for guys that allegedly assault, harm women. So I'm not sure that TNT and that show specifically is really going to do much at the behest of the league. Is going to you think the league could tell them not to make fun of the courts, and Shaq and Chuck would be like, okay, we're not making fun of the courts?
Yeah, I actually do.
What? Okay. You and I disagree on that. Well, you and I disagree on their role, TNT and ESPN's role as it relates to the league in general.
It's very different. We disagree on this. All right, if the league tells them, hey, please don't bring up the domestic violence thing, that is unethical. That is the wrong thing to say there. But if the league goes to them and says, hey, could you guys just take it easy on the courts here? We're trying to get this thing off.
Do you think Shaq and Chuck care about that?
Yeah, I think that Like if it is stressed enough to them, hey, this is off limits. We aren't going. These stupid courts look too stupid for it not to be made fun of, and they aren't making fun of it, Aaron. Like that, like it's the result here that I'm pointing to.
Here's what. Well, you already called
like
me a
that
propagandist.
stupid,
So
the Philadelphia one, the red one is hideous. The Lakers one last night, Jen even goes like, what happened to their court? It's so bright. It's like bright yellow.
I think borders. That's the point, though. See, now you've already labeled me a propagandist, so now I can't be taken seriously on this matter. I think the courts are stupid. I will agree with you. I think the courts are pretty dumb. The Lakers one is, I don't know how it looks on TV, but in person it's fine. Phoenix's, I also saw Phoenix's court was an abomination. I've been to 3 before. I didn't go at Portland, which looked awful on TV, and I assume it was just awful in person. The Phoenix one was hideous in person. It's worse than it looks on TV, especially because the Suns also wear purple jerseys on it, but the purples are different, so it just looks like it's just kind of terrible. So fine, the courts are weird and funny, but I think that's the point because, well, A, we're talking about it, right? But I think the point of the courts is if you are looking back at a highlight or, in next year or 2 years from now, or even like looking for a casual fan looking back at highlights, from the Lakers game yesterday, if they see them today, they will say, oh, wait, like something is different, right? Jen said, what is this court? Where's the regular court? I think the point is it signifies something different, right? And you say, oh, that's an in-season tournament game.
Yeah, but
I think that's the point. I think the courts are kind of awful, but also who cares, I guess?
I do. Okay. Again, like it's the constant thing that I keep pointing back to is like you have to have some consistent branding in your league. There has to be some like uniformity.
That ship has sailed, brother.
In no other league has it sailed.
No, that's not true. No, that's not true. If you go to like,
NFL,
if you watch,
if I turn on an NFL game, at no point am I going to be like, oh, they're playing on a shuffleboard table. That's cool. Like, well, like I know what an NFL field is going to look like. I know what a hockey
but the uniforms are different on the Thursday night games, right? They wear the color rush uniforms. The uniforms are different.
Sure, but like it's all right. So that's one time, and again, like it's not as drastic as we're seeing here with, and like if you want to set these games aside and you want them to feel different, just go with the trophy. Like the trophy at midcourt is fine to me. Like if you just go with the trophy at midcourt, there was no need to turn these things into like.
I do think the shuffleboard,
whatever the hell they
down
look
the middle is a little interesting.
They're playing like they're playing on like Picasso paintings. Like it's just I don't know what they're doing here. And like I've had people like say in the background that like the background to the lounge here, right? If you're watching here on YouTube, is very loud, and it's like it's a loud show. It is consistent. When you hop on here, that background is always going to be there. It signifies that when you see the Lakers Lounge background on YouTube, it signifies I'm going to be talking to somebody and we're going to be having some fun in the lounge. And then when you see the other one, when you see the lowdown background, it's going to be me and it's going to be more informative. And that's branding. That's how this stuff works.
That is true. That is true.
And so like I don't know. I clearly, and the other part of this too that I'm noticing is like it is very generational, where like younger people I think are more adamantly defending the in-season tournament than older people, and I think that's probably a part of this too.
If that's the case, then the NBA got it right, because that is what the NBA is looking for, right? The NBA is looking for new fans and younger fans.
I still don't think this has actually pulled new fans. It's younger NBA fans who are like, oh, this is interesting. This is weird. I don't think it's and like the other I guess praise that I've seen of the in-season tournament games is that teams are playing harder in them. I think that's very subjective. And I think if you're saying that, you're kind of looking for that anyway, right? As that was part of the reason that this thing exists. Right. Once you start looking for it, I think it becomes easier to find that praise for it again. And by the way, confirmation bias works the other way too, right? Where,
Sure.
some would say, well, they sure are playing harder. And I would say, well, okay, I just saw a game in regulation net 309 total points between two teams. That doesn't scream, man, we sure were killing ourselves defensively out there. Like,
you could say they're killing themselves offensively.
Can you do that? Like, is that
Actually,
something you can do?
I mean, yes, yeah, you can. You can play harder offensively, right? We were talking about the
the super hard game of horse, everybody.
The Lakers adjusting to the 5 out, and whether it was working or not, and Darvin even mentioned this, that like and Ty Lue mentioned it with the Harden stuff, like guys, it wasn't working, not because the system didn't work. It was not working because guys weren't cutting hard, weren't screening, weren't running. So yes, you can play harder offensively. I understand your point. Here's where I am on. So what I will say also is that I guess my main point is that I don't know, like, it hasn't detracted from anything. It hasn't taken anything away. So if there are these little side benefits, right? Maybe some team is playing a guy that they wouldn't necessarily because it's an in-season tournament game. Maybe teams are playing a little bit harder because it's an in-season tournament game. Maybe some aren't. If that's the case, that's a good thing. And I don't think it's taken anything off the table, right? There's no negative yet. I came into
courts
the
are
season.
A negative.
Say that again.
The courts are a negative.
Okay, fine. But like,
I think the courts are a negative.
Okay, fine. But who gives a shit? Like, it's a basketball court. Who cares? Yes, I know you care. Yes, old man yelling at cloud. I know you care about the courts. Every team should only have 2 uniforms. Yeah, I get it.
I'm fine with a third. Like, I like the Sunday whites. I'm fine with that. I think I don't think it is taken. Like, if there is any, even if it's incremental benefit, I don't think it's taken anything off the table. I don't think that, other than the courts, yes, okay, fine. Other than the courts, which are an aesthetic affront, and they harm your eyes when you watch. Other than that, I don't think it has taken anything off the table. I don't think there have been negatives. Although Jaylen Brown, to your point about the court, Jaylen Brown Williams, the court dimensions were wrong.
He thought that it was a little bit slicker. I don't know that that's the case, because they're not. It is not like stickers put on the court like in the NCAA tournament. It's the same paint that is being used.
I'm pretty predisposed to just ignore Jaylen Brown excuses. Like, I'm pretty sick of hearing from Jaylen Brown, so I'm pretty cool, like, just not hearing what he has to say about just about anything.
So the people in the building, I've been to 3 of the 4 Lakers games, in-season tournament games in person, and there's like a little bit of a different something in the building, and fans talking about it, and people asking me questions about how it works is also a thing. I don't. No, absolutely. No, absolutely. I promise you.
Well, is it? Oh dear God, what is that court? Well, hold on, I got to explain it.
No, it is not. No, it is not that. No, it is not that. It's about. So
you have people talking about point differentials in the lower bowl.
Yes. No, I mean, yes.
Is it just Mike Trudell? He's like running around.
True is
tell everybody.
True is into it. I'm gonna be honest with you. True is into it. But people ask me like how the term.
I love you.
Here's one thing I will agree with you. I don't think the NBA has done a great job communicating to fans the mechanics of it, like how it works. I don't think the NBA has done a great job of that. So when people ask me about it and I explain it to them, they're kind of, okay, that's cool. And there are some hardcore NBA fans, I'm sure a lot of them, and hardcore Laker fans, I'm sure a lot of them are listening to us right now, that are just kind of like into it, that they think it's cool. I went into the season like, what is this? And I'm a soccer fan. I follow European soccer. I follow the English Premier League more specifically. And so it kind of feels like that. It's not how Americans fan. And I was kind of like, I don't care. Like, I just don't care. But I sort of care now. I mean, I checked the standings, and last night on the way to the game, people were asking me, how it works, and had the what happens had the Lakers clinched anything, and does this mean they're going to Vegas and all of that. I literally had a phone when on my way to the game last night. There was a call, and I thought it was kind of cool that I said, okay, if the Lakers win tonight, then they're guaranteed a home game. Now, because of the point differential, it looks like the Lakers will be the number 1 seed in the West. So it's kind of cool, and that adds a home game to the Lakers schedule, which people were interested in. So I went into the season kind of like,
was the call with Jeannie? Was she like, that means we get an extra home game?
It was not. It was. See, here you go. It was not. No, it was not.
Can I charge extra?
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Let's stop it. So I went into the season like I don't care about this.
Yeah.
But I was like open to it, much like the play-in tournament, because I thought the play-in tournament was a terrible idea. And it's grown on me. And now I think kind of everybody is just into the play-in tournament. Even Anthony, I think, is into the play-in tournament. I think it's like a good thing for the league. No. I think it's been a good idea. And so my thought was like, I think this is kind of a bad idea and I don't get it. But that's what I thought about the play-in tournament. And that I think is grown on me and has become a really good thing for the league. So I was kind of like, I guess this is probably going to suck, but I'll give the league the benefit of the doubt because that's what I thought about the play-in tournament too. So that's kind of where I am now, that I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. But so far, I don't think there's, other than the courts, Anthony, I don't think there's much to complain about.
I am not excited about the Lakers potentially playing an extra game. And I'm certainly not excited about the Lakers playing an extra game with $500,000 at stake, that they might push themselves harder than they would.
Yeah, but you know who is excited about that? Max Christie, Colin Castleton.
That's fine. But I don't want LeBron and AD playing an extra game this season. Like that's not something fair. That I really want this year.
But fine, that one. But to be fair, that one doesn't count for the regular season.
It counts on their legs. Like,
no, my
they
point
turn
is
an ankle.
No, listen.
On wood,
I get it. Yes, if somebody gets hurt in the 83rd game, that's terrible, right? And that's bad for the league. But because it doesn't count for the regular season, whoever is in the championship game, I'm going to root for the Lakers to be in it, right? Because up to the semifinals counts in the regular season. So I'm going to root for the Lakers to win those games. Once you get there, whoever gets to the finals, I mean, you could theoretically say, all right, like LeBron, AD, you're playing 10 minutes tonight.
But
or you could say you're not playing at all.
Doesn't it? Like,
fine. No, I'm saying from your perspective. I'm saying if that is your chief complaint, any team, whoever's in it could say like, we're gonna chill on our guys tonight because we don't want the extra mileage. We don't want the extra risk. That is fair, which does defeat. I mean, for the league's perspective, that's not going to go well. But because this is like a TV event, but for what matters to the teams, you could say, "Hey, Joker, I mean, Joker's a cyborg and." Other than getting ejected, doesn't miss any time.
Yeah.
But you could say, hey, Joker, like, chill on this one. Or, Steph, CP, we don't need the extra mileage. Or,
well, you're
Giannis,
talking about
you're going to get
stars,
beat
right?
up. So, what's that?
You were talking about stars. You mentioned CP. I don't know if I would necessarily.
No, I'm not. No, I didn't say that about stars. I don't to say
I know.
Stars.
I just wanted to shit
because he's 149 years old and has missed like every playoffs the last 6 years.
So you brought in the play-in tournament, and I understand why, right? Because in the moment, the play-in tournament has created some drama, but I also think that
and it has helped. It has helped. I think it has along with the flattening of the odds. I think it has done something to lessen tanking. Yeah,
although. Jeremy Sohan is currently playing point guard for the San Antonio
Spurs. I said lessen. I did not say eliminate. By the way, that is wild. And Pop's just like, we're experimenting.
Yeah, right. And all of the media is just like, we don't question Pop.
And Sohan is like, I don't like this. He literally is like, I don't know about this. I've never played point guard in my life. I don't like this.
Yeah, Wembanyama shooting 1 foot 3-pointers. Yeah. we've gotten like the worst version of Wembanyama to this point in the season.
Well,
It's
yeah,
just
because he's
like
not playing with
nobody
the point
cares to
guard.
coach him.
Except when he plays with Trey Jones, they have like a plus 14 net rating, and they're just like, we're not going to do
And
that.
Pop is like, can't have that. Can't it, Trey?
We're not
Post it
going to
over
do
there.
that. We got to
Your
let
hammy
Wemby
looks a little
explore the
tight,
studio
Trey.
space. Do your thing, brother.
Yeah. But like the play-in tournament, yeah, like it has been good and bad, and I think slightly
Wait, what has
more
been
good
bad?
than
Again,
bad.
like what has been bad about it?
Well, because like I think while we might not see as much like out and out tanking in the same way that we used to, I do think that teams are basically saying, well, we can just kind of coast a little bit more. It's not tanking, but I do think we see a little bit more coasting because there are now, 3 extra teams that are in the mix than there were
You mean
before
coasting like
in each conference.
teams that are in, whatever, the 5 or 6 seed are coasting a little
Well,
bit
just
because
like
they have more of
any
a
team that thinks that it can make the playoffs right now is just kind of like, well, you know, let's not push ourselves too hard here. Although I do think, even on that point, some teams that have been in the play, like the Lakers, right, for example, I think have been in the play-in a little too often for their liking. I think they are probably going to say, all right, let's avoid that. Let's not play an extra game.
I can promise you. Well, look, I'll only talk about the Lakers because that's the only one I know. Like I have firsthand knowledge of this. The Lakers absolutely don't want to be in the play-in. I promise you. Teams are afraid of being in the play-in because your season can be over. Right?
The Warriors season ended, right?
Correct.
At the hands of the Grizzlies.
It was a great. Oh, and the Lake. I mean, they lost to the Lakers too.
Yeah, but like
LeBron with the saw 3 baskets shot.
Yeah, but I do think that with that play in though, and by expanding the playoff to that extent, it does lessen somewhat the regular season. Like that's just what happens when you expand playoff.
No, I disagree.
That's what happens when you
no, I disagree.
We're going to see this in college football too, where they're going from 4 teams that have to get in to 12, where all of a sudden, like Ohio State and Michigan are going to play this weekend, and Jim Harbaugh is going to dress up as that stallion guy. No, I don't know. I hope so. I really hope that he shows up.
What is the stallion guy?
The whole reason Harbaugh is suspended.
You're talking about you're talking about he's going to dress up as the guy that was okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah,
I was like, I so. He's dressing up as a horse.
But like, Ohio State and Michigan are basically playing this weekend for the chance at making the football playoff. And like, that rivalry game is always going to matter. But next year, if they play under these same circumstances, there are no real stakes that anybody who doesn't live in Ohio or Michigan are really going to care about. It's like there's no real reason to watch it because they're both going to be in it next year.
Yeah, but that's a different thing though, because college football is expanding the playoffs to like the same thing. Being in the play-in is not the same as being in the playoffs. And teams are fighting to be in the top 6. So in that respect, it's kind of shrunk the actual playoffs that you're fighting for in the regular season. Because if you're out of that, you could lose once or twice and be done.
Yeah, but I also think though that like, again, it's just what happens when you have more teams eligible for whether it's a play-in or a playoff, right? Like on some random Wednesday, in February, some team is going to be like, oh, we're still in the mix. We're still in the picture. And maybe instead of pushing themselves super duper hard because, it used to be 8 teams got in. Now it's like, well, you can be in the mix from 1 through 10 and you can have a shot at it. And I don't know.
It pushes teams harder.
I don't think so.
To stay above 7 to be in the top 6 though.
That's what we have. We haven't seen that to this point. Like I think maybe eventually we'll start to see it. Like you just mentioned, the Lakers have kind of realized, okay, let's not do that. But the last 2 years when the Lakers have wound up in it, they have done a lot of load management. They have kind of eased themselves into it and said, well, we'll just win the games that we have to win and make the playoffs however we have to make them. And maybe that changes over time. But as of right now, like that's what status quo has mostly been. And I don't know that that's necessarily going to change. And I think it's also depressed activity at the deadline. I don't know if that's necessarily great for the league either.
So that point I categorically disagree with the rest of it, but that point there are fewer sellers because more teams think they have a chance. So yes, that I will agree with there. I do think it has depressed some trade deadline activity some. I don't know if that's maybe an unintended consequence because I know the league loves activity and the league loves being on Twitter with Woj bombs and Shams, whatever. Do we call them Shams bombs also? I know the league loves that.
Shams bums? I think that's
bombs.
what Kay Adams calls them. But
that was you know what? Never mind. Shams is a good looking dude. I'll give him that. Shams is a good looking dude.
He's short.
He's not the biggest brother I've ever seen in my life. But Shams is a good looking dude.
I was talking. We went to that party over the summer.
The media party at
and I was talking with Anthony Slater, who's a little taller. Like he's about your height, I would say. I'm 5'10". He's like 6 foot, I would say. And
Slater's shorter
than me.
But yes, he's not.
We're talking.
We stood back to back in a PF Chang's. No, go ahead.
But like we're sitting there talking, and our eyes are like at roughly the same level or whatever, and then like up popped Shams, like literally between us.
Good hair, really good hair too. But
perfect hair. But but we were sitting there and like we're having this conversation, and whoop, I was like, "Oh, Shams, hi," and like we kind of joked. I was like, "I didn't even see him come." He's like, "He's everywhere," It actually kind of like added to Shams' aura. I was just like kind of surprised at how.
What's wild is, I mean, how many people are in his phone, right? And how many people does he know and does he see at basketball games and all over the place, right? Hundreds of thousands, obviously. So I had seen him around, but I had not met him actually until that party that you're referencing. It was a good time, by the way.
Oh yeah,
it was a good time.
Flying the next day sucked.
It was a good time. Did I make fun of you have I made fun of you about that on the show yet?
No, maybe, probably not.
I don't know. I should.
What did I do?
I was at a game. You texted me did I know about the party? I said, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I sent you the like RSVP thing for it. And then
I sent you it.
Nope. I have receipts.
All right, fine. Your recollection of this story.
And then so I said you the thing, and then you texted me saying, do you want me to add? Do I want you to add me as your +1? I was like, yeah. I told you about it. What? No, I think I'm good. Thank you, but I'm good.
I for sure told you. All right. So I had talked to Jovan at the arena, and he goes, "Are you going to the media party?" And I go, "I don't know about this media party." And I texted you, "Do you know anything about this media party?" Right. Didn't really hear anything from you. Jovan texts me the link, and I go, "Well, just in case, here's the link. Do you want me to add you as my +1 because you didn't know about it?" And then you got in with your +3s.
Oh, we did talk. Yeah. About that. We did talk about this. You got me going back through our text. It doesn't matter. Anyway,
from July.
So I met Shams at that party. That was the first time I had met him, actually. And then I saw him at a game earlier this year. And he came up to me and was like, "Aaron, remembered my name." And like, "Oh yeah, we met at the thing." I was like, "Wait, how do you and that's one of the reasons why he is who he is and is able to do what he does, because that recollection made me feel special. I'm not gonna lie, it made me feel special.
Yeah. All right. We don't have to. We've been talking about this in season tournament. I am. Look.
By the way, we're both right.
Yeah. I'm open.
I'm looking back at the text thread. We're both right. You said, "Can I help you get in?" And then I said, "It's the first I've heard of it." And then I was like, "Oh, okay, I got it." And then you asked if you wanted me to plus
Well, because
one
I
if I
didn't
wanted
hear
to do the
back from
plus
you.
one.
You were like, I got it.
I
And
was
I was
at the
like,
game. I was at a
well,
game. I don't know. I was at the game, and I
yeah.
had plus 3.
Well, and then I was able to take care of it. And I was like, well, I took care of it for me. Do you want me to just add you to
Oh,
the
yeah.
list on my behalf? And then you added you and 3 other
People,
We'll go people. We'll say people.
people of a
They were
different
people.
gender, people of a different gender than me.
Uh-huh. All right, let's move on. I still maintain that I'm like the old person in me and the PR person, the marketing person in me is
Yeah.
saying I don't know about all of these drastic changes to the branding of the league, how they are going to pay dividends long term. I understand why Adam Silver is doing this. Adam Silver is very good at kind of generating money out of nowhere in the short term, but I do think he can sometimes overlook the long term in those efforts. And I think this comes off as one of those examples. Um, let's move on though to the basketball
Okay.
and the basketball that the Lakers have played, and most specifically Taurean Prince, where I think he is one of his last or 2 of his last 18 from the field.
Yeah, I think he's shooting 16% from 3 in the last stretch of games.
Yeah. This after he promised to hit 40% of his threes for the Lakers. He guaranteed he was going to make 40.
Wait, did he?
At
I
this
don't
rate,
remember that. Did he?
yeah, he's going to have to hit like 80% of his threes to get up to like to that.
I mean, he
number.
doesn't take that many. So a stretch of, a stretch of whatever, like 9 of 20 or something like that will get him pretty damn close
to like 30%. So so I but like I said earlier, whenever I bring up Taurean Prince and Jared Vanderbilt, I think soon we should be getting an update, hopefully on Jared Vanderbilt on that front.
So I will tell you what I know about that. So he looks good. Like, this is not like an official team. I see you like
his hat last night was huge.
Was it? I didn't see him last night.
Yeah.
He's looked good coming back. I think there is on Friday, the Lakers leave on Friday to go out on the road. And I think there is some not question. That's not. I think he and the training staff and the team are trying to figure out if he's going to go on that trip or not. So I think there is. He's getting pretty close. Is what I'm going to say.
I hope so.
I think it's definitely possible that he goes on the road on Friday.
And you and I are recording this. It is 9:30 your time, Pacific time. So I still think we're a little ways away from hearing more about Cam Reddish as well. But hopefully eventually the Lakers will have both of those guys. And at which point I don't see the need for Taurean Prince for a little while. I just don't see the need for to have him out there. Rui is shooting just fine. Jared Vanderbilt I would imagine at this point in his career, it would shoot about as well as Taurean Prince has shot this season for the Lakers, while doing a whole bunch extra. Cam Reddish provides more on the court, in just cumulative effect and impact on the game than Taurean Prince. I think
he has so far this season. Yes.
I think you will for the entirety of the season.
Weren't you the number one hater of the Reddish signing?
Which really says how bad Taurean Prince has been, by the way. Like, he has been. I can't watch this guy. I can't. I can't have like the ball rotates over to him, and you just know it's a brick. And I think like that's us watching. I also think it's crept into him where he shoots it, and he hasn't looked comfortable shooting a shot in a minute. And I do think that it would really benefit him to sit down for a little bit, to just kind of watch some tape and understand where his shots should come from. Refocus on the fundamentals of shooting and stop getting in his own head about these things. And, when I present that as a possibility here, a lot of times it gets taken as, well, why would you punish a guy for missing shots? And it's like, if you want to call it punishment, then whatever. Like, you can use whatever semantics that you want. I do think though that like let's just say you're working at a job and
Okay.
your number one, priority, the number one thing that employer was asking of you, you just were not doing. Eventually, they would maybe reconsider your employment, I'm not saying that the Lakers would cut him, but at some point, an employer does have to think like, are we doing a disservice to everybody else as we continue to wait for this guy to do the one thing that he was expected to do for us? So I don't know what to you constitutes like a good reason for benching, because I feel like we've hit it already with Prince.
You mean in general or specifically with him?
Either one.
Well, let's be specific to Taurean. I think that, I mean, this is also now kind of complicated by Cam's groin being, who knows. Him being ruled out like so immediately is not a great sign. I don't know anything yet, but that gives me a little pause as to the, a little concern about the possible severity of it. I don't know anything, but usually when it's like one of those kind of things, when it's a soft tissue injury, like a muscle groin or hamstring or whatever, usually it's like, whatever happened and he's questionable to return is what you just, what him being ruled out so quickly
immediately,
gives me a little concern. Again,
he also
I don't know
walked
anything.
that. You were at the game, so you didn't see it, but he walked back to the locker room and looked pretty dejected, looked pretty and was walking very uncomfortably. It looked like. So, which, by the way, you pull a groin, you walk uncomfortably.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Period. You breathe uncomfortably. Pulling a groin is it's like groin, Achilles, and back are like the three, I think, most painful areas to hurt. That will absolutely cripple you. Will bring the strongest. Will bring.
The back's the worst, but groin is no fun.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that kind of clouds this discussion. I do think. I mean, the points that you're making are fair. Like Taurean hasn't made shots, and that is what he's there for, right? He's there to make shots and guard. He's a good defensive player. Cam has been better defensively on the perimeter. I think the problem with Taurean is he doesn't doesn't rebound, and he's not like a movement guy, right? Vando can't shoot either, but he's cutting, and there's a lot of kind of organized chaos, I guess is what I would call it. He's getting on the offensive glass, and this is like a very non-scientific way to describe it, but he does stuff, stuff happens. And the same has been true of Cam defensively. So I think it's a fair discussion to have about Taurean because that's what he does, right? He's going to stand in the corner and his value is making shots. When is it fair to bench him is kind of a different question because you want to give somebody a chance to work out of whatever they're doing when they have the track record. Taurean's he's a good 3-point shooter. He's shown that over several years. Mm-hmm. So this feels like a kind of, I know for Lakers fans, it feels like, the Lakers curse as all these shooters come to the Lakers and all of a sudden can't shoot anymore.
It's not feels like now. It just is. It's the reality.
I mean, Malik Beasley, other than one game in Milwaukee, has not made shots outside of the Lakers either.
Isn't he shooting 40% on volume this year?
He has not made. Malik has not shot it all that well. He wasn't shooting at all at first. He did make. I think it was 8 a couple days or last week. So I do get the Lakers curse thing. All of a sudden shooters can't shoot, but Taurean Prince is a shooter. He's not making shots right now. But somebody with that track record, you tend to give them a little bit of extra room because they have a track record of it. I do think it's a fair conversation to have, especially because, Rui's playing pretty well. And we kind of came into the year, is it going to be Rui? Is it going to be Vando? Is it going to be Taurean? Vando played 1 quarter in the preseason and has been hurt since.
So I think shooting 47% from 3-point range.
Beasley is?
Yeah, on what kind of volume? Attempts a game.
Oh, that is good. That is good. He must be hot recently because at the beginning of the year he was struggling.
He had
He made
kudos
8.
to
I
his
think it was
game
8
log.
like last week, but
So he had a game 3 of 5 Monday. Then he went 1 of 6, 6 of 10, 8 of 11, 3 of
okay.
6, 3 of 6. Yeah.
6
4
of
of
10 and
10.
8 of 11. that'll get you there this early in the year.
Mhm.
Anyway, so yeah, Torian he's not shot it well, but I think it's a reasonable question because there was kind of the going into the year, there was a little bit of like, all right, who's gonna be that fifth guy? Austin has already been moved to the bench, so who is going to be that fifth guy? And with Cam in there, the defensive things that Torian does are, I don't want to say minimized, they're just less valuable. Because Torian is somebody that is pretty good on the ball. That's what he does. He's not going to guard up. He's pretty good on the ball, and Cam's just been better. Now that Cam is out, I don't know, like, for whom. Once Vando is back, that's a different conversation. I do think that.
Yeah, that's more what I mean. I don't mean like immediately.
So like, let's take like last night, for example. I say that because before Cam was hurt, I have seen, as I'm sure you have, I've seen some calls to start Rui instead of put Torian to the bench and start Rui.
I've made those calls personally.
Yeah.
When Vanderbilt comes back, start Rui instead of Prince and let Vanderbilt come off of the bench and basically stagger him and Reddish as like your perimeter defenders.
Interesting. So my guess is, I have not talked to Darvin about this, but my guess is that Vando's going to start. I'm pretty sure that Vando's going to start when he's back. And if that is the assumption, then I understand keeping Torian, like yesterday, keeping Torian in the starting lineup and keeping Rui off the bench. Because if Rui is going to come off the bench when Vando's back, a lot of times coaches will not want to mess with more roles than necessary, right? So if Rui long-term, theoretically, is going to come off the bench, then putting him into the starting lineup and then taking him out when Vando is back, often coaches just won't want to do that. They want to keep, like, Rui is comfortable doing what he's doing, so let him do that. Torian hasn't been as good as Rui, but Torian's going to get replaced by Vando anyway, so like, don't mess with more roles than necessary. That is my supposition. Again, I haven't talked to Darvin about this specifically. I haven't talked to Rob about this specifically, but my guess is Torian's obviously going to start because Cam, as long as Cam is out also. But my guess is, even before that, my guess is that Vando was going to start when he was ready. And so they didn't want to mess with Rui's role and Vando, Torian, and do both. So my guess is,
you're saying eventually they're going to have Cam and Vando starting.
I do
when
think
both are healthy.
I do think that's probably what. Yes,
I guess LeBron's shooting helps, right?
Yeah, LeBron's shooting it this. LeBron's shooting it again. Like, the space thing doesn't matter. Yes, you're going to get more space because if the Lakers continue playing 5 out, you're going to have more space at the rim anyway. Not space for shooting, but you're going to have more space at the rim. The problem with the Vando, LeBron, AD non-shooting thing, LeBron's
AD and LeBron stopped shooting.
No. The problem, I mean, yes, that when LeBron can't shoot it, it's the collective lack of shooting. Yeah. But the problem was, if you have those guys not shooting it well, and LeBron is shooting it well, like last year, for example, the Vando problem becomes people can be all in the paint, right? Like, yeah. And so that takes away driving lanes for LeBron mostly. But if you're going to play 5 out, yes, the shooting matters, but you're going to have more room at the rim is the point of the 5 out. So if you're playing 5 out, the less shooting that you're going to get, starting Vando and Cam together, really LeBron's shooting it well, but really D'Lo is the only guy that defenses are going to say, all right, we got to pay attention and not let this dude shoot it. That's minimized somewhat for LeBron's drives because there will be more space if you're playing 5 out. So I do think that my educated guess, let's call it right now, is, had Cam not gotten injured last night, whenever Vando was ready, it would have been D'Lo, Cam, Vando, LeBron, AD.
Yeah, I guess I kind of see that.
Yeah, it's good. That Cam and Vando, on perimeter, that's a pretty good size. The rebounding there, you're gonna guard some people. The scoring, the offense, we'll see, but you're gonna guard some people, and you're gonna be big shit.
I've actually arrived at this weird place when it comes to spacing around LeBron and AD, where so we always talk about spacing as like something that a Taurean Prince or a Malik Beasley or somebody like that could provide, right? Um, Carmelo Anthony before, and Wayne Ellington had to go with it, Reggie Bullock and stuff, right? Um, and we think about well, if they just provide them someone who can shoot, maybe just maybe the defense will like take one fewer step towards the paint while they're guarding that type of a player. And I've kind of arrived at a point here where I honestly think that like what it would take to get a defense to actually do that, to actually generate more space for those players, is to literally employ like prime Steph, prime Clay. And
Yeah,
other than
I'm,
that,
I'm
like
coming to that. I'm coming to that. I'm not quite all the way there yet, but I'm coming towards, unless it's Steph or Clay or Dame or JJ Redick or Kyle Korver or
right.
Reggie Miller, like one of those guys. Yeah, I'm
For the
kind
most
of getting
part,
there.
yeah, it's essentially what it is defense are still going to do the math in their head of, if we give LeBron a step, if we give AD a step and they get to the rim, they are finishing that 100% of the time, right?
Although
And
they both missed dunks yesterday.
well, yeah, all right. So 90% of the time, right?
Although LeBron got fouled, but they both missed dunks.
If you don't give them that step and you slide over and they're forced to kick the ball out to a shooter, right? Even a good shooter, 60% of the time they are going to miss that shot, right? That's an elite shooter who shoots 40% from 3-point range. 60% of the time they are going to miss that shot. So essentially the math that these defenses are always going to do, unless you put somebody who hits at like 50% of the time from those on those open corner 3-pointers, is still not worth it. We're still not going to give up that step. And I think the argument for a Vanderbilt there is that, okay, the defense is still not going to slide over one way or the other, compared to him and Taurean Prince. And Vanderbilt will do other stuff on the court to offer value. And I think that's why, like, when coming into the season, I thought, yeah, have Taurean Prince out there, have Austin, have D'Lo, and AD and LeBron will just have forever to be able to operate. But they didn't have forever to be able to operate. They didn't have the amounts of space that we were hoping, in part because D'Lo and Austin never really looked all that comfortable together. Taurean is shooting about as well as that guy who blew his Achilles at halftime of the Lakers game, shooting the half court shot. Although apparently he didn't blow his Achilles, so thank goodness for that.
That was something. Yeah, that was something.
Especially
I didn't see it. I was not out there at halftime. So I didn't see it live, but yeah, people were talking about that. And you know what? I'm not laughing at it. That's terrible. I'm not.
I'm laughing.
People around the arena were talking about it.
that point differential, right? That's
right.
Things that
that's right. Now that was more before the game. That was after halftime. Everybody was. Yeah.
So I think this was a long way of me agreeing with you that, like, if it is Cam and if it is Vanderbilt, I'm cool with at least trying that, because the spacing that was supposed to be provided, even given that Prince wasn't making his shots, right? That spacing hasn't been provided because defenses have still said, no, we're still okay giving up that open shot to Taurean Prince. The problem is he isn't punishing them for giving that shot up. And
Correct.
And while he isn't punishing them, and while there's a less chance of like Vanderbilt or Reddish punishing them, Reddish and Vanderbilt will find other ways to provide value that Prince hasn't to this point. So like, I know a lot of times, and by like, benching somebody is always going to sound pejorative, but for me, I do think that this is a team-based decision. This would be the right move. I also don't necessarily think, like Raj made a good point, that the Lakers have won, what was it, 6 of their last 7 recently. And under those circumstances, coaches won't normally mess with things very
Not
much.
often, no.
So I think that's a thing to take into account here too. But I think with how Prince is struggling and how specifically he's struggling, where I just don't think he looks very comfortable out there, I think a break would really suit him. Like being able to just kind of re-simplify the game, get out of his own head, and refocus. Like we've seen what it's done for Duncan Robinson, right? Like Duncan Robinson is a completely different player this year after having been benched in the past because he was like, all right, I have to get back to the things that made me valuable in the first place.
So, yes, excuse me. I think yes, it can be pejorative, right? Like you got benched, and it can be seen, it's a demotion and whatever. But I think that's like different in different cases, right? As I mentioned earlier, Taurean didn't come here with the assumption that he was just going to be a starter, and he has started some in his career, but he hasn't always started in his career. Like it means something different. Like if it's LeBron or AD, I mean, LeBron and AD aren't getting benched, but like if it's a player of bigger stature than Taurean,
Austin already.
Yeah, I mean, but Austin is like, yeah, I guess. I mean,
well, no, but I'm saying like that. This is honestly a really good case for moving Prince there, right?
Yeah, because you can say Austin did it, right? Austin's
a bigger part of the
organization.
Yeah, he's already moved there, so like I don't know. I've run out of excuses here not to do it here.
I mean, I guess my point is like, or right, like the conversations in across the hall in Clipperland, right? Like with Harden coming in, maybe Harden should come off the bench, or now Russ has gone to the bench, and there was the thing about Russ going to Ty Lue and saying, "I'm gonna do it. And we had this conversation with the Lakers the last couple of years, and with Darvin actually, around, I think it was earlier in the year, like around the same time as Austin, that Darvin sent Russ to the bench last year. So I think like your stature in the league, and Carmelo, when it in Portland or maybe it was OKC, when they were like, before the year, he was like going to come off the bench, and he was like, just kind of like scoffed at even the thought of it, the question of it. So I think it being benched or going to the bench as a demotion and as a pejorative means kind of different things to different guys. Chris Paul, he's not a superstar anymore, as you pointed out. The Warriors had some things about him going back and forth and him being sent to the bench earlier this season, and he had not come off the bench at any point ever in his career up until then. So I think it means different things to different guys. But again, like if you and I had this conversation at this time yesterday, I would have probably a different answer for you. Because like at this point, pending Cam and Vando's not back yet. Like, I mean, if not Taurean, then whom? Again, I don't think Rui is the answer, because I don't think Rui's going to start with Vando back. So I don't think you want to mess with more rules than necessary. I think the question is going to be, if Cam is actually out, then what do you think then what happens? Do you go back to Austin, or do you not want to mess with that? I think that's going to be an interesting question.
I think Ham kind of hinted at it last night. Like he's never going to give away his starters, but he kind of sort of hinted it at Max.
He's better at it than Frank, though. Frank was like down to the second. I don't have to have my lineup in until 30 minutes before tip off, and you ain't getting it until the second it's necessary.
Ham, like I thought, dropped a bit of a breadcrumb last night
in post. I didn't hear.
Yeah, in the post where he basically said that like Max is going to play a bigger role if like Cam isn't available. At which point I kind of said, oh, so Max starts and he probably guards. I guess Kyrie.
If so, that's like to my earlier point about Rui and Vando, is that like you don't want to mess with Austin's role, right? Like he's getting comfortable in his role now, and then like
he setting him
back to the starting lineup, and then I'm going back to the bench. So I think that maybe I don't know the answer, and I didn't hear those comments, but yeah, I mean, if Max starts, then I do think that that's probably an indication that you don't want to mess with Austin's role, right?
Yeah, well, I also just think like having Max out there, who, like, given everybody who is or isn't available, I think is like pretty clearly the Lakers' best perimeter defender if Cam and Vando aren't available, and having him on Kyrie, I think makes a ton of sense. And yeah, Prince on Luka isn't exactly ideal because Luka's just going to bully him. But I think in bigger possessions, as that game gets closer, that's where you put like LeBron or AD on Luka. Dallas doesn't really have any bigs that can really punish you for doing so. So I think if it's close,
I forgot there's a game tonight.
Yeah,
it's been a lot. There's been a lot of them. But yes, yeah. I mean, if that's the case, I mean, Lively's been better than anticipated. I've liked what I've seen from him so far. But yeah, I guess that's what I would do. Yeah, probably. I guess Max. Yeah, I guess I would go Max on Kyrie and Taurean on Luka. And then, yeah, I mean, you start running out of options, right?
I would really look for the Lakers, and they've done this a lot recently, but I would really look for the Lakers to get AD involved early and really punish Dallas. And
you mean offensively?
Have to screw up their rotations with foul trouble or something like that, and get Dallas out of their comfort zone a little bit more quickly so that you have a better chance at some of those other matchups. But we'll see what that looks like. That is just about going to do it here for this week's episodes. I would imagine of the Lakers Lounge. It is a big holiday weekend for those of you who are live stateside, or whatever. If you are celebrating Thanksgiving this weekend, please do so safely. I want you guys to know I am incredibly thankful for you guys. The channel continues to grow. All Access Lakers continues to grow. And that has been a fun project to get in on as well. Aaron, I am thankful for you as well. So everybody go out there, have a great weekend, and we will be back to talk to you guys Sunday evening to wrap up or recap what I would hope has been a nice, fun, eventful weekend.
Go Bears beat UCLA.
Easy. It's not going to happen.
It's not that. It's sneak down.
Honestly, I don't even care. They beat you. They beat USC. So like my year is made.
Cal beat Stanford, but I need this one because if Cal wins, it's a bowl game. Yeah. If Cal wins, it's a bowl game. Cal gets to go to a bowl game. I need it. I need to go to some terrible place in the middle of December because it will be a bowl no one cares about. But I need to go to a bowl game like December 18th or something. I need to go to the Sun Bowl. No. I've been to El Paso, by the way. I've been to El Paso. No, Cal has no chance at the Sun Bowl. It will be significantly worse than that.
Oh.
It'll be terrible.
You're gonna go to like the Life Alert, Alert Bowl.
Yeah.
In Jacksonville, Florida,
in Des Moines, or absolutely, I will.
The South Dakota Bowl.
Yeah, sure, I'm there. I'm sure the weather's lovely there, December 20th, South Dakota. Sounds awesome.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.